Feminism and Star Wars, presented by Mariah Johnson. What is feminism? Feminism, at its core, seeks to instill equality and equity based on gender, gender expression, gender identity, sex, and sexuality. The international movement addresses issues of stereotyping, objectification, human rights infringement, and intersectional oppression. Feminism, in its ideal practice, uplifts and practices the acceptance of all women, celebrating our differences and commonalities. What is Star Wars? The Star Wars franchise debuted in 1977 and has persisted strongly as a cornerstone of popular culture all the way to present day, the most recent chronological film releasing in 2019. The series has undeniably seen a great span of social change during the 4 decades of its success. Star Wars is an epic space opera full of destiny, learning, companionship, struggles between good and evil, and laser fights. George Lucas, the creator of the franchise, suggests the films are for audiences who find themselves at a turning point in their lives and could use some guidance. He says, "You're probably scared. You don't know what's going to happen, and here's a little idea of some of the things you should pay attention to. Friendships, honesty, trust, and doing the right thing. Living on the light side, avoiding the dark side." Based off this quote, one could interpret that the films provide insight on how to form a positive identity for yourself. The 3 trilogies have presented audiences with a plethora of female identities, from military and political leaders to monarchs and bounty hunters. There is no shortage of variety in the female identities within these stories. While many of these women are complex and fascinating with much to offer, we will only be focusing on the female protagonists, Padme and Leia, while using Rey to highlight the unfair popular perceptions of these women. Feminism and Rey. Rey is a strong woman, tough, capable, and perceptive. She's a great character. I have witnessed firsthand her impact on young girls, which is clearly evidenced by the vast amount of children who dress up as their favorite character Rey for conventions and Disney World trips. I love how she inspires the new generation of Star Wars fans. Where I take issue is not with the character, but with the media response to her. Rey is the only female protagonist in the Star Wars franchise to be lauded as a feminist icon, despite the strength demonstrated by the leading ladies before her. Rey's debut in The Force Awakens was met with much acclaim as journalists celebrated someone who is obviously feminist. The Atlantic's Megan Garber dubs Rey as Star Wars' first feminist protagonist. Garber also suggests Rey is a more empowered character because she is a woman who refuses to be defined as one. Casey Cipriani of Bustle magazine states, "This newest Star Wars installment is doing wonders for women in film, especially because of one nice touch. The Force Awakens avoided making Rey someone's love interest." While empowering women who have identities similar to Rey's, these statements implicitly suggest women who identify more with Leia and Padme are not as feminists, thus being weaker women. There is a degree of underlying misogynistic sentiment here that excludes women who might be dubbed bad feminists for not breaking traditional gender roles, whether or not they are empowered women choosing how they wish to live their lives. An aspect that Rey receives much acclaim for is her physical prowess in combat. This praise often goes hand in hand with insinuations that Leia and Padme are lesser characters due to their lack of combat ability. This sentiment perpetuates the strong woman stereotype, which relies on a woman to appear physically strong and act in a gruff manner in order to be considered to possess any strength at all, which in itself is pretty sexist. While everyone enjoys watching a strong woman kick butt on screen, that is not the only way to exhibit strength of character. Additionally, if that is the only way you know how to show a woman is strong, then your character is underdeveloped and one-dimensional. Let's look at the most overlooked Star Wars heroine, Padme Amidala. Padme is a galactic senator and former elected queen, having devoted herself to public service in her preteens, and grew to be beloved by her people for always acting in their best interests. She is intelligent, as demonstrated through her articulation within her political platform and her perception of large and small-scale issues. Her politics are driven by the unshakable code of ethics she adheres to. An outspoken political presence, Padme never hesitated to address matters of importance to her and those she represented. She never shied away from a challenge, even when she herself was put at risk. Whether faced with an altercation of wit or violence, Padme's learned resourcefulness would more than often see her triumphant. Even while she acts as a political pillar, Padme does not lose her gentleness, a trait often neglected when portraying women in politics. Padme's empathy and gentle nature are strengths that reaffirm and nourish her other qualities. All these aspects of her personality shape her to be a well-rounded and very admirable character. She is undeniably strong while remaining in touch with her core qualities. Audiences who find fault in Padme's character writing often boil her down to a little more than the protagonist, Anakin's, love interest. Film blogger Aniel James goes as far as to suggest you could almost forget she was a powerful senator of the Republic due to her love for Anakin. I would argue that if audiences cannot recognize Padme as a strong woman and successful politician solely because she chose to pursue the very natural inclination to love, that is a fault on the audience for perpetuating the idea that a woman cannot both be in a relationship and be her own independent person. Padme is a very feminine-presenting woman, which oftentimes makes those who seek a character embodying feminist ideals decry her contributions to the film. Her choice to marry and have children with a man she falls in love with furthers the insistence that Padme is a weak portrayal of a woman because she is shown to choose what is considered to be expected of a woman. MTV's article, The Last Jedi is the most feminist Star Wars movie yet, labels Leia as the only significant female character in the Star Wars galaxy prior to Rey, choosing to completely ignore Padme's existence. Refusing to acknowledge Padme as the inspirational and resilient female character that she is solely because of her incorporating traditionally feminine roles in her life is, in itself, anti-feminist and exclusionary. Next, we have the tough darling of the original trilogy, Leia Organa. In George Lucas's own words, Leia is morally and emotionally strong. She refuses to betray the rebellion that depends on her, even at great cost. Her emotional resilience is shown when she is placed in a position to not only deal with the loss of her family and entire home planet, but to also support Luke, the main protagonist, as he grapples with the loss of his family and mentor. Leia demonstrates incredible emotional maturity. She is no-nonsense and able to take charge, assuming great responsibility from a young age, similarly to Padme. Leia conducts herself with a commanding presence and makes it clear that there is one thing she is not, and that's a pushover. She actively participates in demanding roles within the rebellion and proves herself to be fearless. With all her headstrong ways, Leia possesses duality that grants her a sense of realism. Her impenetrable demeanor is very briefly set aside as she develops a romantic relationship with the scoundrel Han Solo, and audience have shown that despite her immense responsibilities, Leia is still a young woman who wishes to experience love. We also see her softer side around the strange bear-like Ewoks, as she demonstrates compassion and respect for them. While cited as a quality of empowerment, Leia's strength of will and confidence is an example of a poorly received personality type. Star Wars blogger Trisha Barr points out that women this powerful and secure in themselves tend to elicit a negative response from men and women. This dislike, while sometimes not even noticed by those who share the sentiment, is why inclusionary feminism is important. If a woman is too, for lack of a better term, bitchy, she is disliked by the majority. If a woman is too gentle and feminine, she is disliked for being weak. Perhaps the most infamous topic of feminist discourse within Star Wars would be Leia's slave appearance. Described by many as unfounded sexualization, the discomfort caused by these scenes is intentional. The general audience seemed to have difficulty looking past the image of a scantily clad woman to see what is actually being portrayed. Noah Berlatsky of The Guardian calls the slave Leia approach clumsy and sexist, but I would call it accurate. Not to suggest that the female experience typically includes being placed in a metal bikini against one's will, but rather being sexualized without consent, a prevalent issue faced by women that feminism seeks to subvert. And subvert the issue Leia does when she uses the chain choker of her costume to kill her captor and free herself while eliminating one of the galaxy's most notorious gangsters. If that is not an empowering image of refusing to be unwillingly objectified, I'm not sure what is. Additionally, Leia's actress Carrie Fisher summed up the sentiment neatly. In response to upset parents expressing concerns to Fox 29 as to how they'd explain Leia's enslaved appearance to their daughters, Fisher stated, "Tell them that a giant slug captured me and forced me to wear that stupid outfit, and then I killed him because I didn't like it, and then I took it off." Conclusion. The greatest conundrum to arise from the feminist movement is to how to encourage women to empower themselves. Women helping and uplifting women can lead to amazing things and great change, but certain groups of feminists lose sight of the importance of doing just that. In an effort to uplift women, feminism can sometimes become exclusive and put down certain female identities. This hypocrisy creates resentment and leads to much scorn directed at the feminist movement, going as far as to cause women to shy away from it for fear of being rejected. There is no singular image of an empowered woman. Women of all backgrounds, identities, sexualities, and beliefs are more than capable of embodying empowerment. To be empowered is not to fulfill any kind of societal expectation, or rather it is to be strong and confident and take control of your own life. This is an idea that the story of Star Wars embodies so well. I thank these films for giving girls and women amazing and inspirational female characters who refuse to be defined by anything except themselves.